Hey there, it's Mitzi. Welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about what I've been reading this week, as well as a little book mail. So this past week and maybe the week before, I received one of these, but I received some things from you, and I just want to say thank you for all the sweet comments that you've left about Millie, my dog. If you follow my channel, you know that I lost my dog Millie. She was a Maltese, and she was the love of my life, and I love her so much. And I'd had her for 15 years, and so I had shared on here how it was difficult letting go. And during that time, those couple of weeks there, that I had trouble just reading. So I talked about that on a previous video, and you all were just so sweet and had left some wonderful comments about how sorry you were for me losing my dog, and shared a few things about your pets, and I just was just so comforted by, encouraged too, by your comments and this wonderful community. And so yesterday I had gone to the post office, and I received this sweet little card from Debbie. Now, I received something else from a Debbie too. I have two Debbies here, and I won't share last names just in case you don't want me to. But one of you, Debbie, you know who you are. She sent me this sweet little card, and I was at the post office. My son had went in to pick up the mail, and I saw it, and I recognized her name, so I opened it immediately. And both me and my son Elijah were just so touched by the card. At the moment, I thought that Elijah was going to cry on me and get upset, but he was so touched by it too. But the card says, "Dogs love us unconditionally, softening our lives with sweetness and affection." And that sums it up. It really, there is something about having a little puppy that loves you unconditionally, that softens your own life and your attitude toward others. It really makes a difference, and I never knew until I was a pet owner. And then inside it says, "Such treasures can never be forgotten. So sorry for your loss." And then she left a little message. So thank you, Debbie, because this was just the sweetest card. And when I opened it, and Elijah and I read it together, and we talked a minute about Millie and how true this little statement is about her. We sort of just celebrated her for a moment, and then we talked about how wonderful this community is, because you guys are just fantastic. And Elijah told me, you know, he talked to me a little bit about how wonderful it was that I had this community, and I am thankful for you. I am in a transition in my life right now, and so it's been just such a comfort and encouragement to have this avenue to go down and talk to other people that love books just as much as me. And not only do we love books, but we love each other, and we care about each other, and we reach out you know, to encourage one another. So I just love that. So then I received something else from another Debbie, another viewer. This has been probably a week ago I received this, and immediately my son Elijah again was with me when I went to the post office, and so we opened these up, and we were so thrilled to get these two books. The first is, there was a message, and she had a card with a sweet bird on it. And let me tell you, I am a huge bird fan, so I was thrilled to get the little bird card as well. And I'm going to keep these cards. They're not going anywhere because they were so special to me. But another Debbie sent me two books, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. I have read this before. I read this as a read aloud when I taught third grade, but I did not have a copy, so I was excited for that, because Elizabeth over at Lizzie Faye Loves Books, she was actually in this play. They put on a performance of The Best Christmas Pageant Ever recently in her town, and she was part of it, so we've been talking a lot about that lately. So it made me want to read the book. So this was a great one to add, but then this was the sweetest part. She gave me this book. It's called Dog Heaven by Cynthia Rowlett, and I love Cynthia Rowlett, but I had never read this book. And the little puppy is a little white dog, and Millie was a little white dog. And so my son and I went through the book together and read it immediately, and both of us just loved it, and we laughed about it, because there are things in it that we thought, yep, that's Millie. It's things like, Every angel who passes by has a biscuit for a dog. And of course, all dogs sit when the angels say sit. Every dog becomes a good dog in dog heaven. The kinds of biscuits, like there's funny biscuits made in funny shapes. There are kitty cat biscuits and squirrel biscuits, ice cream biscuits, and ham sandwich biscuits. And we just loved that. We thought that was so sweet. So thank you, Debbie, for this book. I will treasure it. It was such a comfort for us. We had such a good time reading this immediately, and I will revisit this one. And this will just make me smile every time I think about Millie and her love. You know, if you have a dog, their love for any kind of little treat, they were always excited. I know with her, I would give her a treat and it was gone. I was like, okay, you didn't even taste that. and so that's what we talked about when we read it. So thank you, Debbie, for these books and the sweet note that you left me too. And to all of you again, thank you for being so sweet about my little dog, Millie. It's something about being a dog's person, the person that dog just loves. It has just been a struggle for me. I will just tell you, it's been a struggle because the house is just empty. It's just too quiet. That's all I've known for 15 years is her being here by my side. So thank you so much. I'm not going to go on anymore about it. And we're doing much better, and we will always miss her because she's left a hole in our hearts. But we're doing much better, and all of this encouragement helped me so much. So thank you for that. Now for the books that I have been reading. So the first book I read was for the Elm Creek Quilt books. I'm trying to read through those, and this was the next one I needed to read. I actually went to Jennifer Shiverini's website to see the order because you don't necessarily read them in publication order because some of the stories take place between some of the other books. Anyway, I went to her website to see exactly what she suggested, and the next book is The Christmas Quilt. And again, this is by Jennifer Shiverini and is part of the Elm Creek Quilt series. And I really enjoyed this one too. I think I'm really going to love this whole series. They're very heartwarming. I will say though, I was not wanting anything sad, and this made me cry. There is people dying all over the place in this book. So it was sad, but again, it was heartwarming and full of hope and encouragement. So it ended up balancing out. There were some tough moments in it, but it's not that long. And by the end, there was just encouragement and hope, and that's the kind of book I like to read. And this, of course, had all the Christmas feels as well. There's decorating the tree and different things about Christmas traditions and recipes and things like that. So I highly recommend this if you're looking for a heartwarming Christmas book. And you could read this without reading the rest of the series, because she actually, in this one, I noticed there was a lot of reviewing the first story to kind of set you up to know what the relationship is between these two ladies. So you wouldn't have to read this in order, and you wouldn't have to be read the first book to know what's going on in this one. I highly recommend it. So the next one I read was for Christie's Missing. This was the group read for that readathon, and it is The Mysterious Affair at Styles. And I had never read this one. This is the first in the Hercule Poirot series. I've only read a handful of the Hercule Poirot. I've read all of the Miss Marple, most of the standalones, and most of the Tommy and Tuppence, but I had not read but just the most popular ones, really, of Hercule Poirot's. And so I am excited to, now that I've read this first one, to just continue reading through the Hercule Poirot series. This one was a lot of fun, and I will say, I watched this morning Sandy over at Miss Reads a Lot. She put up a little short video about her thoughts on this, and I was like, same, I feel exactly the same way. And she was talking about why didn't she see this coming? Why was she not able to figure this out? And I felt the same way at the end of this one. So let me know if you've read this one, if you felt that way too. Don't share any spoilers, of course, in case someone reads the comment that hadn't read the book. But let me know if you felt the same way with you should have known it, because there are so many clues in here. And when you get to the end of this book, you're like, oh, okay, I should have known that kind of thing. And this one more so than the others. The others, I feel that way But in this one in particular, it was pretty much like she was giving it to me. And I just did not see it. I went in a totally different direction, just like Sandy. So I thought it was funny when I saw her talk about it this morning because I felt the same way. But it was fun and I enjoyed it. So I decided to just keep reading for the Christie's Missing readathon because it's only 11 days and I wanted to try to squeeze in as many Agatha Christie's as I could. So I read for the first prompt, which is Janelle's Too Fond of Books prompt. And what we were to do for that was to read one of Janelle's favorite Agatha Christie's. And one of hers was Ordeal by Innocence. And I hadn't read this one, so I chose it. This was fantastic. I can see why Janelle loved it because I gave this one 5 stars. This was a page turner. I read it in one day. I could not put it down. In this one, we have Jack, who is convicted of murder. And he is sent to prison for life. But while he's in prison, he dies of pneumonia. Well, later on after this, a man comes forward and says that he had picked up Jack on the night of the murder, so there was no way he could have committed the murder. And so he is, not guilty. So he goes to tell the family this, thinking that they will be relieved because Jack's not guilty. Of course, sad because he has died in prison, but that, it will clear his name. He's not guilty of killing their mother. But it doesn't go that way. When he gets there and he tells them that he, in fact, had picked up Jack, just as Jack had said in his account that night, in his defense, that he was not guilty. Well, the family is upset because then it's like, okay, if he didn't do it, one of us did it, because it's one of those locked room kind of mysteries where there was no one else in the house but them. One of them had to do it. So then they're all paranoid and it's like, okay, which one of us committed this crime? So it was, like I say, a page turner because there were several things at the beginning. Like even the first chapter is kind of like, what is this man going to this house to do? Because he's sort of dreading doing this. And then he tells this about Jack, that he is in fact innocent. And then there's some other things that it just kind of builds on it. And I've already spoiled too, sorry. But you find that out on the back of the book. But there's a lot more. I'm not spoiling this book for you because there's a lot more that happens. Twists and turns. There are all of these adopted siblings. And so everyone is a suspect, including the husband. It's really a page turner and I absolutely loved it. So I'm glad that I read this one for the Christie's Missing readathon. I also read for Debbie December. I don't have a copy of this because I listened to an audio version of this one. And I kicked off the month with this. This was December 1st. I wanted to read a Debbie December because I wanted something that was lighthearted and fun. And I heard that Debbie would give me that. So we are participating in Debbie December, which is to read books by Debbie Maycomber. And so I was excited because I'd never read one. I know that's a surprise, but I haven't. So anyway, I was watching Storm over at Storm Reads, and she mentioned this book that it could count for location because I had totally messed up what location is on the prompts. But she explained how it could work for location, and the book was Trading Christmas. And it also works for a movie because they have a movie adaptation, and she really enjoyed the movie, so she was going to read it. I immediately, after watching that video, downloaded the audio version, again because I didn't have a copy of it, even though I have a stack of Debbie books to read, and I listened to it, and it was so good. I loved it. It's about this woman who, her daughter is not coming home for Christmas, and she's upset about it, and her daughter is in college in Boston. And so her daughter says she's too busy, she can't come home. So her mother decides to surprise her and to fly to Boston to set up Christmas there. So she ends up trading places with a professor from this college in Boston. He takes her home and she takes his. And when they get there, nothing goes as they planned, and they meet new people, and there's romance, and there's a lot of things that happen that were just wonderful for a Christmas read. It is definitely a Hallmark Christmas story, and I can see why it was made into a Hallmark film. I then made my husband watch the Hallmark movie a couple of nights later, and we enjoyed that too. I loved both. And there is some differences, like in the book. There are a couple of characters I wish would have been in the movie, because there's a mother that is really funny that I wished it would have been in the movie. But I can see why, because they ended up not having two characters that were important to the story. They kind of blended in some things. So because of, casting, it took away two cast members. So I'm sure that helped the budget of the movie, because they didn't have to pay those actors. So I can see why that they took those away, but they did add a little fun to the book itself. However, as I said, I did enjoy the movie too. So I did love my kickoff to Debbie December, and I'm going to start another Debbie Macomber book today, so I'm excited for that. I did read one other book, just a Christmas book. I'm trying to read through the Melody Carlson Christmas book. She has these little, they're really like novellas. They're not very long. They're usually under 200 pages. This one's called A Christmas in the Alps. I think this is one of the more recent ones. In this particular book, a girl is cleaning out her grandmother's things after she's passed away, and she comes across this letter, and it's a treasure that her grandmother has left in the Alps. And so she wants to find out what the treasure is, and so she's never really flown, and she's always been nervous about flying, and so her friend talks her into taking this trip across the world to find this treasure. And it is the typical Christmas story, but I did enjoy it. And if you like the heartwarming Christmas Hallmark type books, I think you would like this. Again, it was super short. I read it in one day. It's the kind of book I like at Christmas, because I like these little short books to read. And there is also a little romance in it too, but it's not overly done, which I like as well. So those are the books that I have read this past week. Have you read any of these? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.